Good morning, and welcome to the December 16th, 2025 meeting of the City of Lakeland Planning and Zoning Board. This board meets every Tuesday of the month to review proposals for changing the city's comprehensive plan, its future land use map, and zoning changes that are consistent with the map and conditional use permits. The board is made up of 7 members appointed by the City Commission and is assisted by the staff of the Community and Economic Development Department, the City Attorney's Office. Staff will advance any presentation slides that should have been provided prior to this meeting. The meetings are divided into 2 parts. The first is a public hearing where we expect to hear new applicants explain their request and receive comments from affected parties. The second part of the meeting is termed the general meeting and primarily consists of acting on recommendations from staff about cases that came up in prior month's meeting. We invite everyone who wishes to participate to be heard. We do ask that you be concise in your comments and that speakers avoid being repetitive. That is, if several people have pointed out traffic concerns, there's no need to hear additional comments regarding traffic again. But we would like to hear anything new that has not been addressed. In order to allow everyone to have an opportunity to speak, there will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker, and the clerk of the court, clerk has a timer for that purpose. We respectfully ask that you adhere to this rule. If you plan on speaking, please begin to line up in front of the room once the chair asks for public comments on the case for which you want to provide testimony. Before speaking, please provide your name and address for the record. At this time, we ask that you silence all mobile devices. And with that, we'll thank you all for being here, and I'll turn the meeting over to our secretary, Bessie Reyna.
Item 1, compatibility review to allow for the construction of an accessory dwelling unit on property located at 804 Lake Hollingsworth Drive. Owner Stefan Todd Bayless, applicant Oliviera Construction, and this is for consideration of final decision.
Hello, good morning. Damaris Stahl, Senior Planner, Community Economic Development. The subject property, as mentioned, is 804 Lake Hollingsworth Drive. The property is zoned RA1 within the urban neighborhood and preservation conservation context district. The surrounding land uses are all single-family residential, and the Lake Hollingsworth is to the north of the property. Currently, the subject property is being rebuilt. The original home, as you see on the aerial here, was demolished back in September. And the applicant is building a brand new home on the property. This is the current state of the home of the lot. It has been cleared and it's getting ready for the new build. This is the approximate location of the accessory dwelling unit. It will be towards the rear of the property and on the southeast corner of the facing north. You can see the Lake Hollingsworth in the foreground there. The existing driveway off of Janella Avenue that is on the south end of the southwest end of the property, and this is the site plan of the proposed new home and the ADU, which will be located right here. The proposed home is going to be very different compared to our usual compatibility reviews that you have been accustomed to. This home is on an estate lot and will be approximately a little over 6,000 square foot in. This is the proposed accessory dwelling unit. It will be compatible in architectural styles you see here, and the floor plan of the accessory dwelling unit. The living area of it will be about 551 square feet, which is right below the minimum that is required, the maximum that's required of the land development code. Before I go on to the conditions, I'll let the applicant describe the proposed accessory dwelling unit and stand for any questions.
Hi, I'm Philip Oliveira with Oliveira Construction. Let's see my address as well.
Yes, please.
2507 Janila Avenue, Lakeland, Florida 33803. We're proposing to build an accessory dwelling unit together with the home that we're constructing. The accessory dwelling unit will be architecturally consistent with the home. It is detached, approximately 550 square feet, and it'll be located just behind the home, across the pool. And I think the mayor said, I think, did a great job of presenting what we're looking to do.
Any questions from the board?
Have you had any concerns with the neighbors about putting an accessory dwelling unit there?
No, I didn't receive any emails or phone calls regarding the accessory dwelling unit. I do want to add that it's going to be set back from the property line a good distance from the rear and the interior sideline. It's going to be 58 feet from the rear line, property line, and 27 feet from the interior lot line. And our minimum requirements for accessory dwelling units are 5 feet. And so the neighbors, they were okay with that because it's a good distance away from them.
And earlier this month, the applicant, they did apply for and were granted a variance for the height of the ADU to match the pitch of the roof of the main home there. So that was approved through a variance and did go through that process.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Not bad.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the public? Oh, nobody's moving, Phil. Okay.
All right, these are just the following conditions for accessory dwelling unit. The development standards in accordance with RA1 Urban Neighborhood Context Subdistrict zoning standards and subsection 4.3.2 of the City Land Development Code, except as otherwise provided herein. The site development plan, the project shall be developed in substantial accordance with the site development plan included in attachment A. And architectural plans, the project shall be designed in substantial accordance with the floor plans, attachment B, and architectural elevations in attachment C. And the certificate of occupancy for the accessory dwelling unit shall not be issued prior to the issuance of CO for the principal dwelling unit.
Okay. Are you comfortable with these? Is the applicant
Yes,
comfortable?
yeah, I'm comfortable with those conditions.
Okay. All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Oh, Madam Chair, we need a motion in a second, please.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Okay,
I'm trying to hurry this along.
I make a motion that we accept the applicant's request.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Seitz and seconded by
Okay.
Mr. Dennis.
Now we can vote.
Now we can vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, minor modification of plan unit development zoning for Orlando Health to amend the comprehensive sign plan on property located at 4,000 Lakeland Highlands Road, owner Orlando Health, applicant Neil Strallo, and this is for consideration of final decision.
Hi, good morning. Audrey McGuire with Community Economic Development. So this is just a minor modification to the Orlando Health Plan Unit Development. The Orlando Health Hospital is located just south of the Polk Parkway on Lakeland Highlands Road. So this is they previously came through in August for an amendment to their sign plan. That amendment was to add light pole banners and a second ambulance sign. And so this is the current approved signage plan for that development. This PUD modification is adding in 8 additional monument signs throughout the development that were omitted from that previous amendment. So these areas that are in bubbles here, and here is where those 8 additional monument signs will be added. It's about 100 square feet in additional signage. This is the breakdown of the sign types that was provided previously. So when we look at sign type BB2, the previous sign plan approved 11 at 137.5 total square feet. And the current proposed sign plan adds in that additional 8 monument signs for 19 total and 237.5 square feet. The other numbers that you see on here are adjusted for the total square footage of the area. This is also correcting an error that was on the previous sheet, adding in that additional 100 square feet of sign area. And then the difference from what was originally approved in the PUD. So they originally had 3,030.79 square feet of sign area. And since that was originally approved, they've removed about 723.89 square feet. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Anybody? No? Okay. Any conditions, anything the city has with this?
Yeah, so it would just be basically removing those 2 attachments. Oops, excuse me. So we would be updating the signage plan and replacing that, and then replacing the sign type data in the land development code. So no additional conditions. It's just adding that those additional 8 signs, an additional 100 square feet of signage.
And really at this point, it would just be, does the applicant concur? And then do we have any public comments?
Right. Well, do we have any public comments? And the applicant, I'm assuming, is present? Yes.
Good morning. My name's Neil Strallo. I'm an associate with VHB. We're a planning and engineering firm. My office is located at 501 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 1010, Tampa, Florida. I am the authorized applicant for the owner, and we appreciate your consideration. These were originally shown on a previous master sign plan, these monuments, and unfortunately they were omitted from the past minor mod. And therefore the out parcels, the track B and D, they are small monuments that will give direction to future tenants in those tracks. So we appreciate your consideration, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. No questions? All right. All right, need a motion to approve.
I would move for approval of this minor modification as shown.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is passed. Thank you.
Okay, item 3, minor modification of plan unit development zoning to amend conditions of approval pertaining to signage and adopt a new sign plan for a freestanding emergency room on property located at 963 Lakeland Park Center Drive, owner Orlando Health, applicant Neil Strallo, and this is for consideration of final decision.
Hello, good morning. Again, Damaris Stahl, Senior Planner of Community Economic Development. The subject property is located just north of I-4 and east of Highway 98. It is currently zoned PUD, and...
Damaris, can you move the microphone to your mouth?
I'm sorry. It is currently zoned PUD, and the surrounding land uses are retail and commercial area. As mentioned, this is for to establish a new comprehensive sign plan for the subject property. The new freestanding emergency center will be right off of Lakeland Park Center Drive. This photo is just to show you the property, and it's the southeast corner of Lakeland Park Center Drive and mall access entrance there. With this property, the signs that are going to be added for here are highlighted in the colored area. They are going to be a monument sign, 2 monument signs, and a emergency pylon sign, as well as a couple of directional signs that will be added with it. And for the proposed changes to the plan unit development is to add the site plan to the PUD. It would be under Section H of Ordinance 5509. The signage shall be in accordance with Section 4.9 of Land Development Code, except as otherwise provided in the comprehensive plan, including attachments E1, E2, E3, E4, and E5, and as follows for the out parcels of 2, 3, and 4. Signage specific to the development of the freestanding emergency room shall be in accordance of attachments E6, E7, E8, E9, and E10. And this it will be the index to the attachments that will be also added. And it will be E6 through E10, the signage provisions specific to the development of the freestanding emergency room on our parcels 2, 3, and 4. This will be the site plan that will be in the ordinance, showing the locations of each of the new signage. So it'll be along the buildings here, the entryways, these 2 by the entries, the other by this entry, over here, and here. These are the examples of each of the sign types that will be on the property, the different canopy signs and building signs are examples, as well as the monument signs and their examples. And this is the example of the pylon sign that will, and monument sign that will be on the property as well. And this is just the index of each of the signs that will be on the property and their maximum and total lot area, square footage areas. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Any questions from the public? Comments? Oops. Applicant?
Again, Neil Strelo, for the record, Associate VHB, 501 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 1010, Tampa, Florida. Applicant for the owner. We appreciate your consideration for this new comprehensive sign plan for this freestanding emergency department. There's a lot of activity on these properties, and the sign plan helps direct the emergency service providers and general public coming to the location, as well as normal directional traffic. So we appreciate your consideration for this application. I will take any questions that you may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Damaris, do we have any other conditions?
No, it will just be all the attachments that I listed here that will be added to the plan unit development ordinance.
Okay. And applicants in accordance with these, you're going to accept these?
We are aware and we're in consent.
Okay, thank you. All right, motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is passed. Thank you.
Item 4, annual update to portions of the capital improvement element of Lakeland Comprehensive Plan or Community 2030, including the 5-year capital improvement program. Applicant, City of Lakeland.
Good morning, everybody. For the record, Chuck Barmby with Community Economic Development. So each September, the City Commission adopts a 10-year budget or a capital improvement plan that really guides the city's expenditures for that period for all of the city departments, ranging from the Community Redevelopment Agency, transportation, the airport, our water, wastewater utilities, stormwater utilities. And so each year, following the adoption of that capital improvement plan, the local governments were required to carry those expenditures or those items forward into their comprehensive plan through the capital improvement element. And so today's request is to do just that. The capital improvement plan will run from the years 2026, fiscal years 2026 to 2035. They already approved by the City Commission and include a number of infrastructure items, over $1 billion worth of investment in the city. And they include items like the, just real quick, jumping across from some of the key projects. Transportation projects like the upcoming reconstruction of Providence Road. It's about a $13 million investment that includes funding from the city's Public Works Department, Community Redevelopment Agency, and about $4 million from the Department of Transportation. Major city wastewater projects. You've heard of the Western Trunk Line expansion project. That's about an $80 million investment of a new wastewater transmission line along the entire west side of the city. Also includes other sewer line upgrades, upsizings, including Kings and Queens Mobile Home Park in the Robson Street, Florida Avenue area. We also have a number of public safety projects, including the construction of Fire Station number 8 at the intersection of Sleepy Hill Road and Mall Hill Road. And we also have other expenditures of ongoing projects, like the planning activities for the English Creek Park project is on the 102-acre site, south side of Pipkin Road between Hawthorne and Riverstone in southwest Lakeland. So included in your packet is a summary table that shows revenues versus expenditures and demonstrates that there is a balanced budget that was approved by the City Commission. The individual line items included in the CIP are in your packet. I would say that most of the departments saw an increase in expenditures between last year and this year, but the most substantial being wastewater. Of course, there's a substantial need to upgrade our water utility system because of the age of the infrastructure. And so that's the expenditures that you're seeing in there to the tune of an additional $130 million over what was budgeted in the previous capital improvement element. And so if there are no public comments, we ask that that the board today expedite approval so we can take this on to the City Commission in January. This is our normal cycle in terms of asking for P&Z approval in December, going to the City Commission in January. It's also important to note that this action does not constitute a formal amendment to the comprehensive plan. Statutorily, this is a separate action that would be required and not a comprehensive plan amendment. The other thing that I also wanted to note too is that this document shows, as required by law, how impact fees are expended for each of the subject areas, from transportation to parks and recreation, public safety. And so those are all documented within the CIP as well. But with that, I'll happy to answer any questions that the board members have.
Anybody?
Yeah, Chuck, the stormwater situation that we have, is that reflected in here?
That is not reflecting the proposed stormwater fee. This is based on the revenue that was projected at the end of the last fiscal year, for the current fiscal year, with those potential increases.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, any public comments? Okay. Motion to approve.
I would move for approval.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is passed. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, general meeting, item 5, review minutes of the November meeting.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Any changes, corrections that need to be made? No? Okay, need a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes have been approved. Thank you.
Item 6, major modification to an existing conditional use for Blake Academy to expand the boundaries of the school campus and allow for the construction of a new 15,291 square foot gymnasium with associated off-street parking on property located at 510 Hartshill Avenue. Owner, School Board of Polk County, Rosabelle W. Blake Academy. Applicant, Sarah Chase. Next Level Planning and Permitting. We do have a note here that this is continued from the September meeting, but there is a request for an additional 1-month continuance until January the 21st, 2026 meeting.
Okay. Do we have to vote on that? I don't think so.
That would be very helpful.
Okay. Just checking. All right, do we have a motion to approve the request for an extension?
I make a motion that we approve the extension.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's approved. Thank you.
Item 7, small-scale land use amendment to change the future land use designation from Community Activity Center to Public Buildings Grounds Institution on approximately 2.63 acres. A change of zoning on approximately 2.63 acres from Community Center Commercial to Plan Unit Development, and a change of zoning on approximately 1.02 acres from Limited Impact Office to Planned Unit Development to allow a transient lodging and social services facility with the health clinic as an accessory use on property located at 1005 East Memorial Boulevard. Owner CFTB Realty LLC and Sage LD1. Applicant Timothy F. Campbell, Clark, Campbell, Lancaster, Workman, and Arith.
Good morning, Audrey McGuire, Community and Economic Development. So this subject property is generally located at the the southeast corner, of Memorial Boulevard and Ingram Avenue. It is comprised of 3.65 acres in total. And so the westernmost portion of the property, which is about 2.63 acres in size, currently has C4, Community Center Commercial zoning, and PI, Public Grounds, Buildings, and Institutional Land Use, and CAC has Community Activity Center land use on it, The 1.02 acre parcel to the east, this is a portion of the larger former Florida Department of Citrus building site. This currently has PI land use and O2 or limited impact office zoning. And so the purpose of this request would be to change from C4 and CAC, Community Activity Center land use, to public institutional land use on the 2.63 acre portion of the property and rezone the entire 3.65 acres to PUD. So the parcel on the west is the site of the former 2nd District Court of Appeals property. And prior to 2022, it did have PI land use as well as O2 zoning. In 2022, there was a small scale land use amendment to change that from PI to CAC. As well as from O2 to C4 to market the property for commercial. So the proposed request would be a return to the former PI land use and then rezoning that entire property to PUD to allow for a transient lodging and social services facility on the site. So adjacent land uses in the area, to the south, you have PI land uses with the site of the U.S. Army Reserve Center, the City of Lakeland Purchasing and Storage Yard, as well as that larger parcel directly to the east. The applicants are requesting a small-scale land use amendment and rezoning to allow for the development of a 72,000 square foot transient lodging and social services facility on this site. So this is the northeast boundary of the property, facing the east, facing north, looking back across the subject property from that northeast boundary back towards the former DCA District Court of Appeals property. This is at the corner of Memorial Boulevard and Ingram Avenue, looking back into the subject property facing east. Looking back towards Town Center on the left and down Memorial Boulevard. And then looking again from that same corner to the south back towards the U.S. Army Reserve Center. So the proposed 72,000 square foot facility will have adequate space for the emergency shelter and its residential programs. It'll have segregated areas for both male and female guests and residents, a free health clinic that will be available to both guests and residents. Guests will have access to the health clinic from inside the building. Access to the health clinic to the public will be limited from the exterior of the site. There's also a donation center on the east side of the property, a storage yard, as well as a loading dock area where they will receive supplies. And then over 20,000 square feet of outdoor open space, both covered and uncovered, which will provide guests and residents ample space for gathering and activities. Access to the emergency shelter will be limited to this far southwest corner of the building. That will be where that primary entrance is. These are the proposed conditions, or I'm sorry, the proposed elevations. And just going back a little bit, looking at the overall site. So both Memorial Boulevard and Ingram Avenue are transit-oriented corridors, or TOCs. And so the policies of the comprehensive plan for TOCs encourage a mix of non-residential, medium to high-density residential, and both public and institutional land uses. So in July, to address decline in the Memorial Boulevard corridor, the City Commission did adopt the Memorial Boulevard Economic Development Strategy. This is a strategic plan for revitalization of a 6.1 mile stretch of this corridor and is intended to guide future policies, programs, and capital projects aimed at addressing social and economic challenges. So during our previous public hearing, we heard a lot of comment from the public and concerns that that this proposed location was not consistent with the economic development strategy, and the proposed use would be a hindrance to revitalization efforts. So the Memorial Boulevard Economic Development Strategy does not explicitly state that a transient lodging and social services facility is needed in the corridor. It does acknowledge and detail the benefits of such uses when coupled with job training and maintenance programs. So it would be consistent with that plan in this general area. And so that plan is intended to guide our future policies and regulations. That plan is not a regulatory document in itself. So the proposed change from Community Activity Center, CAC, land use to PI, public institutional, it is consistent with the surrounding land uses to the south. It is also consistent with several other goals, objectives, and policies in the Land Development Code, including those in both the housing and future land use elements. So additional concerns we heard from the public at the previous meeting, as well as following the meeting, was the proximity of the proposed use to adjacent schools in the area. So the proposed location following a legal pedestrian route would be approximately 1,800 feet from the Lakeland Montessori School on North Lake Parker Avenue, which would be further to the north. It would be approximately 1,600 feet away from the primary entrance and outdoor recreation facility for Lakes Church Academy. And it is over 1,100 feet away from Skate World, which is a commercial recreation use. In comparison, the existing complex on North Kentucky Avenue is about 1,200 feet away from the closest school. We've also received several comments regarding the proposed facility and its proximity to existing residential uses. A majority of those neighborhood-related concerns centered around issues related to crime and trespassing in the area. The closest single-family residence is located on North Lake Parker Drive. It is more than 800 feet northeast of the subject property. In comparison, the closest single-family home to the current facility is 200 feet. Additional concerns we heard from the public at the previous meeting were related to pedestrian and bicycle safety, potential negative impacts to property values, and potential to make existing issues in the area worse. And so the conditions you'll see do address some of these issues as we go through, but before I get to the conditions, I will pause and allow the applicant to come up and state there.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, board members. For purposes of your record, my name is Tim Campbell, the law firm of Clark Campbell, Lancaster, Workman, and Erith, 500 South Florida Avenue. And I'm here today representing the property owner CFTB Realty LLC. There are many people here in support with CFTB and the Talbot House. And I'm going to probably address you more than I usually do, given some of the comments that have been provided from the public and frankly, some comments from the dais So if you'll just, and I won't be repeating things as best I can, but I do want the opportunity to address you. First off, and I've never done this, but I want to note for the record that I am board certified in city, county, and local government law. In the state of Florida, an attorney is only allowed to call themselves an expert if they are board certified. So I am an expert in local government law, which includes land use and zoning. First, I want to address, and I am going to submit to Alex at the end some documents that I'd like placed in the record. But first, I want to address just the standard review, just to kind of go over that with you and appropriate considerations. And most of you know this, and I apologize, but it's necessary. This is an important case and an important applications, and I want to make sure that I've done my part. So first of all, reminder that this board, voluntary board, but you're required to consider applications in accordance with the city's adopted governing documents. And in this case, that's the Land Development Code and the City of Lakeland Comprehensive Plan. And when you do these things, and you've heard it before, you have to base your decisions on appropriate evidence, called in the law something that sounds, worse than that, is competent, substantial evidence. And it's just the appropriate evidence. It's fact-based. It's not opinions. It's not other things. It's fact-based, appropriate, competent, substantial evidence is what the case law calls it. And that evidence must relate to the criteria and factors that are set forth in the comprehensive plan and the Land Development Code, against which you should consider and analyze and weigh every application that comes before you. Your Community and Economic Development Department staff, also experts and as planners and transportation experts, they go through and do an analysis like they do in every case of the applications. And in this case, they found the applications to be in compliance and conformance with the comprehensive plan and the Land Development Code. And you've heard Ms. McGuire explain to you some of the regarding the comparative proximity of the existing site and the proposed site to schools and to housing. That testimony was not factually accurate, that this site is actually farther away from housing and schools than where it exists now. And very importantly, they recommended approval of the applications as consistent with the provisions of the comprehensive plan and the Land Development Code. Also of some concern is, as a board, you hear the applications before you, and there's been a lot of talk and a lot of volunteers for what other site out there in the city of Lakeland that some people prefer or think better or want it away from them. That's not an appropriate consideration. You have an application before you. Your staff has reviewed this application as to this site and the appropriateness of the proposed use on this property, and that's what you have before you to consider. And I shared before, after hearing this in the initial application, we've done that analysis ourselves, and we wouldn't be here for this site if this were not the most appropriate site for the proposed use. So that's just kind of a standard of review, appropriate considerations discussion. I also, and it was, people voluntarily contacted me, but I do want to also point out Fair Housing Act, the Federal Fair Housing Act, and the American with Disabilities Act, the ADA, and just point out it is discriminatory under the Fair Housing Act for a local government to deny a land use approval based upon the use of the property for services which assist the homeless and disabled. And so we have to be mindful of that. We, the city, have to be mindful of that as you go through that. It prohibits discrimination. And one of the ways that it enforces the Fair Housing Act is by ensuring that land use and zoning regulations are not employed to hinder residential choices of the disabled and those protected under the ADA. The Fair Housing Act prohibits local governments and other regulatory bodies from making land use or zoning decisions or policies that exclude or discriminate against individuals with disabilities. And real quickly, there are two examples, and those will be in the folder I'll submit. One is the United States versus City of New Orleans, in which case a nonprofit affordable housing developer sought to redevelop a nursing home into permanent supportive housing for homeless persons with mental and physical disabilities. And that was struck down, and the city settled and approved the variances and the permits and everything else that were required to allow that in recognition of those requirements under federal law. Right here in Polk County, and it was Polk County, it wasn't the city, and it was some time back that the county had to agree with the Department of Justice in an enforcement of the Fair Housing Act where they denied a request to operate a faith-based traditional residency program for homeless men with disabilities. And they did so. They were moving along positively until the county kind of reversed its position after community opposition. And so in that case, in addition to monetary damages, the court prohibited the county from further discrimination and required the county to approve the request. And the quote was, "Equal access to housing is a basic necessity and a civil right, and the Fair Housing Act guarantees that all individuals can access the right free from discrimination." So I only say those things because they're relevant in this discussion, and it's important to us to have all of these things at hand when we make the decisions. So thank you for that. A couple comments on the staff report. Ms. McGuire did an excellent job. So I just wanted to point out some of the excellent points in the report. I'm not going to kind of regurgitate them because she did a good job. The transit-oriented corridors, this is at the location of 2. Those do encourage more intense development because you have multimodal transportation facilities available. They're more major transportation corridors. You heard her say that public and institutional uses are a part of the recommended and encouraged mix of uses at these transit-oriented corridors. You heard about, and we've talked about it before, the Memorial Boulevard Economic Development Study, and that is very important, and it is very important for the revitalization of Memorial Boulevard. But even the study recognizes having a social services facility within the mix of uses as part of the Memorial Boulevard revitalization encourages and insists and increases the chances for success of a revitalization of the entire corridor. So the exact use that we're proposing is recognized in that plan, and and I've submitted them before, and I'm going to submit that plan with the folder, but it talks about all the benefits of having a social services facility in the mix of uses on the boulevard as part of the revitalization. I already talked about addressed and found the existing site is closer to schools and to homes than what the proposed site is, contrary to some of the testimony that you've heard before. And I promised I'd be brief. So very importantly, in the staff report, they recommended approval to you. They are the professional planning staff. Trust me, they don't give us an easy time. They analyze your codes very much. They consider all the things you consider. They certainly consider public testimony and the public involvement, and they're very mindful, and we have discussions of how to address that. You know, this process has worked very well if you think about it, because when we first came, we were on a different site, and it was oriented different, and it was designed differently. And this applicant spent a lot of money to totally move the site, redesign the building to minimize external impacts, to orient directly to a bus stop. Your staff is requiring that we do some improvements for a mid-block crossing for that stop on a much less busy Ingram Avenue than Memorial Boulevard. And so the process has worked to end up with a better product, quite frankly, for the user and for the city and for the public. So in closing, because the applications are consistent and in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the land development code, there's significant, substantial competent evidence that supports the applications, including the improved architectural design of the building to minimize external impacts for the use, the staff recommendation of the approvals, And some of the things that I've talked about today, we very respectfully request your approval of our applications, and we very much appreciate your attention and all that you do. Thank you.
Any comments, questions?
Yeah, I have a question from staff. At the November meeting, I do believe the lady who owns Skate World handed you a packet of petitions that were signed. I didn't see any mention of that in the summary here. How many of those did you receive and how many were opposed?
I don't know the exact number, and I apologize if I omitted those. Those are saved in the record under the complete petition, but or under the complete application, but there were several sheets.
Several sheets of signatures.
Yes,
So what, 50, 75
potentially, yes.
or more?
Again, I don't remember that exact number. I apologize. I don't have that in the information.
And also, I was somewhat surprised when I saw that now it's, and I didn't, I mean, maybe this was said and I missed it, but down on the zoning and planning board, it says that emergency shelter and residential lodging for a maximum of 390 beds.
Correct.
Okay. Has that been all along? It was 390 beds? And I just
The previous proposed site on the property to the east that came in, that was a smaller facility at about 65,000 square feet. So this facility at this location is larger and would accommodate additional space.
How many beds do they have at the current facility?
Please come to the microphone.
150 beds. And I'll say, because it was a discussion before, and it's not relevant because with the approval, they could do it with the emergency housing, they could do all that. We've not stressed it, but part of their, they've gone through, they've listened and they're trying to provide the best service to the community they can. So they're actually modifying their program to, they're going to still have emergency housing because they do work with the Lakeland Police Department and Lakeland Regional, and they are there to provide help. But transitioning their programming to be a residential program where the people are residents, they're residents, and they have the training, the job training, the health services to get them back out into the community, as opposed to as much of the overnight emergency type of services that also creates more impact. So that's just a side note, but 150 beds is what they have now.
And is this facility intended to replace only the facility that's on North Kentucky? I'm looking in public records and I see two more buildings a block or two away on Vermont. I didn't know if that was.
I'm going to ask, because I know the staff report says that it doesn't change the housing buildings that are on Kentucky. It's the social services facility. And so those will continue to exist. And give me 1 second.
Correct. So there is a group home that was approved through conditional use several years ago. I believe it's in 2008. That conditional use will remain on site. There is some language in the conditions regarding termination of existing uses. There's also transient apartment housing that is on the property. That is permitted by right in the 01, in the current 01 zoning on that property on Kentucky Avenue. So that is not projected to relocate at this time. So both the existing group home and the apartment housing that is on Kentucky Avenue are intended to remain there at this time.
Any other?
I do have a question. So I see that here they mentioned that the property is 1,600 feet away from the primary entrance of the Lake Church Academy. Does the Lake Church Academy has more than one entrance?
They do. How close is the closest? This gentleman's with the Lakes Church and said there is a closer entrance, but he doesn't know the distance. He'd have to pull up a map. So there are multiple entrances. And when I addressed that, it's because of some statements before that this facility was closer to those things. Overall, that's not, it is a consideration for obviously and impactful to those who live in whichever area, but they are closer now than they will be, and is not determinative of the appropriateness of the use. But to answer your question, yes, I'm told there is a closer entrance than the one they've referenced because there are multiple entrances.
I'll also note for the record, our land development code doesn't require a separation between social services uses and residential uses or schools. So there's not a required distance that we measure from.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, you want to go over the conditions?
Yes, thank you. So condition A, permitted uses, a transient lodging and social services facility not to exceed 72,000 square feet in area, including a 6,500 square foot health clinic as an accessory use and other support uses and services as follows. 1, an emergency shelter and residential lodging, maximum 390 total beds. This would be comprised of men and women's guests and residents, 250 beds and 30 ADA accessible beds. B, medical guests, 30 beds. C, emergency overflow cots, weather-related, 80 beds. This does address, I believe, a comment at one of the previous public hearings about concern related to weather events such as hurricanes. 2, Employment Solution Center, 3,500 square feet. 3, Donation Center, 2,500 square feet. 4, other accessory, administrative, and storage uses. And then the allocation of beds and square footage of the above uses may fluctuate, provided that the overall number of beds does not exceed 390, and the total square footage does not exceed 72,000 square feet. B, development regulations. In accordance with the C4 Urban Corridor Subdistrict Regulations, except where otherwise provided herein, minimum front setback 13 feet, minimum street side setback 12 feet, minimum rear setback 10 feet, and maximum building height 2 stories. C, site development plan. The project shall be developed in substantial accordance with the site development plan included as attachment D. With the approval of the Director of Community and Economic Development, minor changes may be made at the time of site plan review without requiring a modification to the PUD zoning. D, architectural design. The project shall be designed in substantial accordance with the architectural elevations included as attachment E. With the approval of the Director of Community and Economic Development, minor changes may be made at the time of building permit review without requiring a modification to the PUD zoning. E, landscape buffering. In accordance with Section 4.5 of the Land Development Code, except as follows. To ensure visibility and safety throughout the project site, crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED, principles shall be incorporated as part of the design and maintenance of landscaping to foster a safe environment and discourage individuals from public camping, sleeping, or loitering in areas not designated on the site development plan for use by clients as open space. The specific plant materials used shall be subject to review and approval by the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department at the time of site plan review. F, loading and unloading areas and storage. Loading and unloading areas designated as loading dock and service yard on the site development plan, attachment D, shall be screened from view of the parking area by a 6-foot high view blockage fence or wall, compatible with the architecture of the principal building. Unloading and donation of donations shall occur only within the area designated as donations drop-off canopy on the site development plan attachment D. Receipt of donations shall occur from inside the building, and donations shall not be staged, stored, or otherwise left unattended under the drop-off canopy or outside the building. The use of external and freestanding collection bins for donations shall be prohibited. All storage activities associated with the facility shall occur inside a building, except for the outdoor storage located in the service yard behind the view blockage fence or wall. All other outdoor storage is prohibited. H, a binding concurrency determination shall be made at the time of site plan approval. A minor traffic study or safety analysis shall be submitted in compliance with Section 10.3 of the City Land Development Code with a special emphasis on bicycle and pedestrian access and safety. Prior to certificate of occupancy issuance, the applicant shall convey any rights-of-way or easements to the city and FDOT that are necessary to fully accommodate sidewalks along Ingram Avenue and US 92 Memorial Boulevard frontages that may exist on the subject property. ADA-compliant pedestrian routes shall be provided throughout the development, connecting on-site amenities, mail kiosks, parking lots, and adjacent public sidewalk systems. Prior to the CO issuance, the applicant shall coordinate with the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District Citrus Connection to design and construct a mid-block crossing across Ingram Avenue to the existing transit shelter, subject to final approval and permitting by the City Public Works Department. In addition to providing bicycle parking in compliance with subsection 4.11.6 of the Land Development Code and Index 900 of the City Engineering Standards Manual, bicycle parking for guests and residents shall be provided within various designated bicycle areas to enhance security. A total of at least 75 bicycle parking spaces shall be provided within the designated bicycle parking areas. Wave-style racks will be permitted within the fenced area of the corral only. And 7, the site development shall comply with all FDOT permitting requirements. I, termination of existing conditional uses. The existing transient lodging and social services facility located at 814 North Kentucky Avenue shall terminate following the completion of the new facility on the subject property. Upon the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, Community and Economic Development Department staff shall initiate the repeal of Ordinance 3677 by the City Commission. This condition does not apply to the existing Troxel transitional apartment housing or level 2 group home approved through a conditional use permit in 2004, Ordinance 4507 as amended, which may continue to be used by Talbot House Ministries for long-term housing of clients until the property is sold or redeveloped for another principal use. And J, security. Certified facility personnel shall provide 24-hour site monitoring to maintain a safe and secure environment. The entrance at the southwest corner of the building shall be limited to clients of the emergency shelter, residential program, and day services. Public access to the health clinic, employment solutions center, and donation center shall be from the north and east sides of the building only. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, are we ready for a motion?
And probably the first step would be to make sure that the client or the applicants.
You're right. I'll get there. I'm asleep today.
Thank you. On behalf of the applicant, we are accepting of the conditions that have just been outlined.
All right, thank you.
And just kind of a reminder of kind of the process going forward, the board has really three options. Approve the conditions as presented by staff. Approve conditions that are modified based on the discussion amongst the board members. Or 3, a motion to deny would also be the third action that would be allowed here. So there's really 3 actions that the board need to take today, 2 options. But we certainly would stand to answer any questions based on the staff's review of the application and the data and input that's been received at this point.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Board members, any issues with the conditions? Okay. Let's start. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve with conditions as presented.
Second? We do not have a second. A little more discussion on conditions. Are there any conditions that would help anybody? Remember, seconding the motion to approve doesn't mean you're voting for it.
It would just open up the discussion amongst the board
Right.
members.
Right.
I will second to get this on the floor.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, well, we're going to need a roll call on that. 'Cause that wasn't clear.
Ms. Seitz?
No.
Ms. Reyna?
Aye.
No.
No.
And I voted no. Okay.
Okay, so that motion failed. Now, if we're going to be, if at this point of the three options that we were talking about, do we have we're going to need either a motion to amend the conditions or a motion to deny the application as.
All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion has passed.
And if we could have a roll call vote again, just to make sure.
Ms. Seitz?
No. Or wait a minute, wait. I want yes.
Yes, yes. Okay.
I'm a no.
Yes.
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 So the motion to deny is approved 4-1 with Ms. Reyna being the dissenting vote.
Yes.
We need an explanation for the denial based on the comprehensive and development plan.
Yes, we're going to need an explanation as to the basis for which the motion, in terms of what competent substantial evidence was considered based off of the comprehensive plan and the land development code as to the denial of the motion.
We may all be in different places, but I'll state my reasoning behind this. And I appreciate Mr. Campbell providing some of the guidelines that we have to look at, and appreciate the applicant with the work that they did. We as a volunteer board, I think, also have an obligation to look at things beyond just the guidelines and take a look at what the impact to existing surrounding areas may be. I personally just have a difficult time approving this because I do think that there are some impacts that will affect the churches, the schools, or other areas that are surrounding. So it's placing this in an area that it didn't exist. And we have done the same thing. And again, I know Mr. Campbell talked about ADA accessibility and other things, but we have also disapproved hotels and other things because we did not feel like they were the best option to go into the surrounding area that they were going. So that's kind of where I am coming from.
I'd also say too, and that's very similar to my thoughts, we've had overwhelming opposition to this project from the residents. And I feel that as a volunteer citizen board, we have an obligation to the citizens to look at their side of things too.
Make sure you speak into the microphone, please.
Excuse me?
You don't need to speak to me, just speak to the microphone.
Okay. These folks that have signed the petitions, made the phone calls, emailed, came here on 2 separate occasions and voiced their concerns. They have their money invested in their businesses, in their homes, in their schools. And they do not want a transient facility in their neighborhood. I understand their complaints, and I think we owe it to them to take their concerns in as great of, having as much, carrying as much weight as having a facility for transient homeless people. These people have their sweat equity in these businesses. They have joined with the Restore the Core. They have done all of the things that have been asked of them to improve this situation. And they don't see this as an improvement, and I truly don't see it as an improvement for the area either.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, my thoughts are exactly the same. I don't think the community was in agreement with this request, and I think we need to look for the community. Also, my major issue was with the location based on how close they were to the schools, because they're right next. One of the schools is just north of this location. I don't know, they mentioned that in the current location, there's also some schools closer to it, but looking at the map, I can see multiple properties in between those two. There's more separation, I think, than from the proposed area.
I'm probably going to be more in accordance with Mr. Dennis and Ms. Seitz. We are asked not only to follow the comprehensive land use code, but we're also asked to listen to the public. And I just feel like in this instance, we're moving what's become an issue in one location of the city, a mile or two away to another area of the city. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. The problem needs to be addressed head on, I agree. I just don't think this is the right location.
All right. Well, what I will do is I'll look to Mr. Landback. Are there any other actions the board need to take in terms of the vote's been taken, explanation for the denial?
Not at this point. Mr. Campbell, you'd have 30 days to file and submit an appeal pursuant to the Land Development Code.
All right.
And of course, for purposes of that appeal, verbatim transcript of the, the proceedings and all that if you need it.
All right. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Item 8, report of City Commission action on Planning and Zoning Board recommendations, along with Planning and Transportation Manager's report.
All right. Well, I will like to welcome Dr. Julian Rios to our board. This is his first meeting, and so thank you very much for your interest and participation in the growth of our city. And so thank you all thank you very much.
Thank you.
We also want to introduce our new senior planner, Jonathan Sims. He comes to us by way of Polk County, and so you'll be seeing a lot more of him going forward as well. So welcome, Jonathan, or JP. The City Commission yesterday, it was obviously a very busy, packed agenda. So the commission approved the Wedgwood land use and zoning actions by a vote in each case of 5-1. Unanimously approved the land development code revisions, and thank you very much, Audrey, for all of your work on getting those not only prepared but also to the finish line yesterday. The solid waste transfer station as well as the duplex on Plum Street were also approved, and so it was definitely a very packed agenda. Looking forward to January. I think right now, the only things that we're really looking at are the continuation of the Blake Academy case and hopefully action on that item, as well as a potential annexation, associated land use and zoning actions for an apartment community on Plateau Avenue, just kind of this side of Wabash Avenue in unincorporated Polk County. January will also be a workshop between staff and the city attorney's office on just planning and zoning board procedures, policies, just an orientation that we have not had in a very long time. It's been several years, and so because of the lighter than normal agenda in January, we want to take the opportunity to kick off 2026, kind of with that discussion and presentation.
That'll be in the conference room next door.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, a little less formal.
Okay.
And then with that, thank you all again very much for all of your service in a very busy 2025. We look forward to 2026 and what is on the horizon.
Okay. Got a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Take care.